It's so professional. Greetings, adventurers, acolytes, and followers of the Conclave, to tonight's broadcast of Secrets of the Conclave, our monthly now interview show where we get under the covers of the characters in the world of our campaign, The Chronicles of Amar, streaming every Thursday night on Twitch, which means tomorrow night. I am your host tonight, replacing one, Andrew Garrard, your co-conspirator, investigator, Mike, otherwise known as the Elfin Priest, Faustus Delafay. And with me tonight, and ladies and gentlemen, and centaurs around, it is a special one. We have with us tonight the ever wonderful Andrew Garrard, who plays Lilith, and also, importantly, moonlights as DM of our very own Conclave one-shots. And beside him, ladies and gentlemen, I'm excited about this. We bask in the glory, nay, the radiance of the one, the only, our dungeon master, Luke LePage.
Hello.
All the air horn sounds.
That has definitely become your thing in the games, Andy. So how are we doing tonight? How are you guys feeling?
Pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good.
Yep.
Pretty good.
It's weird being on the other side of this.
I know, right?
Usually I'm the one with
the
the tirade of good tidings and stuff like that, but getting asked the questions is definitely going to be an experience.
Yes, so settle in to the couch of Faustus, and I'm going to start off tonight with what I think is an easy one. So, gentlemen, and either of you can just jump in when you're ready. At last count, how many dice are you both currently in possession of?
Go, Luke.
I actually do know the answer to this one because my kids have been setting up little Dungeons and Dragons stores using the dice and things like that. So I have, in that little box that I bring, there are 196 dice. And there are a few more scattered around the house.
So Andrew, I suspect it's not about who has the most dice, but I suspect it is also about who has the most dice.
Yeah, well...
At last count, what's your estimate, Andy?
Look, I'll be completely honest. Though I've got two of those Laura Bailey Critical Role dice bags, and I think I filled the first one with about 150, and I now have two almost full bags.
So let's just round 300, okay. Yep.
Give or take.
Yeah, so look,
give or take a couple. And if my wife is watching, it's maybe like 100.
And if anyone out there is looking for dice, tune in tomorrow for a very special sponsor. But yes, well, Luke, I think, I still respect you as DM. There's still time, and if anyone out there watching tonight can send some dice to our DM, Luke's way, help him catch Andy. That'd be very, very appreciated.
I don't have any fancy ones, so.
Well,
we'll get you
if you use the discount for tomorrow night's sponsor, you can get some fancy ones.
So I'm going to go straight into some of our questions that have been submitted for tonight. And so this one is for you, Luke, and I'm interested to hear your thoughts. And it comes from the village of one Ares, the Colossal Titan. And Ares, the Colossal Titan, asks Luke, when did you start the creation of Amar? And do you have other worlds and campaigns in that mind of yours that you would like to explore, try, or play?
Yes, well, so many ideas and so many campaigns set. It's interesting that the question comes from Jesse because he actually plays in a Monday night game that is kind of the test setting for Amar, but I won't give too much away, but in a more... Never mind, that Siri's going off. Sorry, guys.
Well, you can ask Siri. We can throw the question to Siri too if you like.
So he plays in effectively what is the test setting, but set in a very different timeline. So he's probably a little bit confused sometimes about the places and people that are named, but there's a lot of thought that's gone into that world, and a lot of ways that it can go, and a lot of little plot lines that we can follow for various campaigns. before looking at maybe a second world or something like that down the track. Lots of things bubbling away.
So I sometimes think of dungeon masters a little bit like politicians, and you kind of answered the question, but I want to be out there for Aries. So I want to know, what year did you start creation of the setting of Amar? Is it a new creation? Has it been floating around for?
Look, as far as Amar as a concept of a fantasy world goes, it was about close to 20 years ago. But as far as a D&D setting, probably about 4 or 5 years. So.
Okay, interesting. Is that because you're relatively, sort of, that's when you came to Dungeons and Dragons, as a rule set or a system, or that's when you sort of brought the two together?
No, that's sort of. I started a little bit before that playing, but it was mostly modules and things like that, pre-made modules and the pre-made adventures. And then I looked around and did some DMing of my own. And a lot of what I had played or done as a DM prior to this was in the Star Wars 5e conversion, and sort of doing sort of homebrew ideas within that system. But then I converted it across in mostly DM 5e exclusively now, and that's when I brought the setting across as well. Because my favorite part of it is the storytelling, and the world construction. So,
that's awesome. I feel like this segues into one of the questions from Metal Mum, but I'm curious to hear from you, Andy, about this question as well, and then get your thoughts, Luke. So, this was a question that was for Luke, but anyone who knows Andy knows. Even by his own admission and labels in various Discord channels, he is the forever DM, and he is also, for those who don't know or missed the intro, the dungeon master of our one-shots. And so with that, what do you enjoy most, Andy, about being a DM? And then I'll come back to you, Luke, and sort of get some thoughts from you about it.
Oh, that's a very good question, actually.
Is it control, the phenomenal power, the ability to watch the light go out of your player's eyes?
At the end of the day, gods exist in these worlds, and you are more. You are above them. Even the gods bend to your will. No, it's definitely, if I were to riff off some of what Luke just said, the interactive storytelling, my greatest joy is I'm very good at creating elaborate sort of set pieces, and seeing just the joy on my player's face when they come into that. And I just like sort of, there's a little bit of puppeteering going on there to make sure that they get into those really, really big meaningful moments. But I mean, which DM isn't doing that? But just seeing their absolute amazement at the incredible story beats and stuff, and that's to me, that's what gets me off.
So what I put down here in my notes is godly power fantasy and gets off. Fantastic.
Yep.
Luke, I'll throw to you. So I guess we've gone now through one shot and what is it, six campaign episodes so far, and I know you do a lot of DMing outside of the Chronicles of Amar setting in our Thursday broadcast. What do you enjoy most about being a dungeon master?
As I've said a couple of times, when I trip over my own tongue and can't pronounce words, I am an English teacher. So narrative and story construction is something that I'm very passionate about. And that's what I enjoy, creating worlds and having people immersed in those worlds and see them exploring those things. So,
who was, and either of you guys can drop in there because I'm just curious to ask, who was your first, do you remember your first game? Who was your first dungeon master that wasn't yourselves? If you guys were the trendsetter and you started the game, so I'm thinking of some friends that I know, but the first game that you played in, who was your very first dungeon master? And can you remember and recall the game and who was there?
I do, actually.
You go, Andrew.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It was actually a mate of mine, James, which anybody watching this from high school would know James. He brought the old AD&D edition to one of our Warhammer club days out at Tugra, the old Tugger RSL that no longer exists there. It's the Central Coast Mariners Center of Excellence is where it sits now. But he played an AD&D sort of module that was just at the end of Advanced Dungeons and Dragons before 3.0 came out. And I remember that session. I remember us playing while everybody was playing Warhammer, and I remember dying within like 2 seconds.
What character were you playing? And can you tell us a little bit about like what the setting was?
I don't remember the character, but we're doing one of the dungeons. It might have been Tomb of Annihilation or something similar to that. So it was quite difficult and designed to murder people. Because I think I went into a room, looked at something. He said, "Oh, trap goes off. Make a reflex save. Oh, you failed. You're dead." And I was like, fair.
Was he an experienced DM at the time, or was it just the brutality of the rule set?
All of our first sessions, and I think like if you look at it now, even the ones translated from 2E, things like Tomb of Annihilation, Tomb of Horrors, and stuff like that, the traps in it, yeah, they're designed to kill players.
Interesting. I just picked up a book on one of the things that's weak about the games that I run is on traps, and I think I'm going to have to go back and get a little bit more brutal about that. You've given me some ideas. So, Luke, how about yourself? Do you recall the very first game that you played as a player? Who was your first DM?
I do. It was a friend of mine when I was living out west, Douglas. We were playing Tyranny of Dragons. So Horde of the Dragon Queen before it was combined. And my wife was there and a few of our other friends as well. So
awesome. Do you remember what character you played?
I do. I was the Dwarf Paladin Aradin.
Oh,
so he's made some guest appearances. So that was my actual first miniature character, that one. So
awesome. Okay, okay.
So he's a recurring NPC in most of my settings. So
very interesting. Okay, very cool. All right, so I'm gonna stay on that beat, but what we might do is we've got some more questions that have come through, and we'll turn to a little bit more of the campaign, setting and some of the characters. So there's a question here from Metal Mum, and it's very similar to a question that I had written down, and it's on this same beat of recurring characters. So Andrew, Lilith has been a journey for you. She's a character that's, gone through a number of iterations, shown up in many realms, and may have even once brutally executed an incredibly handsome dwarf with an immaculate beard, behind their back.
Just to set the record straight, everybody, that was Mike's character, by the way, and he's still salty about it. And yeah, she may have also buggered off when there was a coven of witches just bearing down on the group when she got what she needed. But a journey. She's shown up multiple times. Tell us about her inception and what makes this character for you. Why does she keep showing? What's special about her? Tell us about where she started and how she's changed. So it's very interesting. It's one of those. It really is that DM creates an NPC that just evolves further beyond anything you could have ever imagined. So she showed up in my massive campaign that I completed last year, which was called the Renown, and she was basically a witch. I just wanted a witch, and make her a little nasty, but super intelligent, and
that's changed.
Yeah, definitely. And you go through sort of like the iterations of what's a cool name for it. Lilith ended up being probably the most badass name I could give her, and then it was just they were investigating the main sort of person that they were supposed to deal with, called the broker, and she was kind of his offsider, but not by choice. She was there, placed by the big bad evil guy who had vested interest in what the broker was doing. So she was actually the big bad evil guy, sort of offsider, placed there. And then she cornered the rogue in the tavern because he decided to break in by himself. And at that point, she was a very powerful wizard, so he didn't get very far. And then it was one of those things where she just left such an impression on that character, the rest of the party sort of noticing what was going on. He came back, he told them about her, and then she became part of this narrative beat where they were just like, man, but what do we do about Lilith? She's so strong, she's such a powerful wizard, like, she'd have, like, traps and stuff, if we do this, maybe she became, like, a threat. They didn't have to give a shit about what the broker was doing, she became more of the focal point. And then the evolution point, 100% jumping into Strahd, and I gave her a backstory. So that's where that came from.
Wanted to create a sassy witch with a bad attitude. Lilith became the name of that, and she became a powerful NPC to be feared in your games. Strahd happens, and Strahd changes people. And so through Strahd, she starts to evolve. And then fast forward to Luke saying, hey, I'm going to do this Chronicles of Amar thing. Andy, son of a bitch, are you in? Of all the characters, of all the NPCs, you came back to Lilith.
She comes naturally, mainly because I've used her a few times now. She started in that one. I played her in Strahd. She was an NPC in the work crew, pretty much the same. She was a brief NPC in our Vecna mini campaign. So I was just like, you know what? She's easy to play, because deep down she's probably just one of the many personalities that live inside my head.
Luke, I'm going to put you on the spot. As the Dungeon Master, tell me really, what do you think of Lilith?
Well, I know a lot more about what Lilith's up to than everyone else. So that gives me a bit of inside information about that situation. So I won't say too much. I think that the way Andrew has put Lilith together and some of the things we've come up with together really will help drive the story when... and part of it was to have a vehicle to bring everyone together, because obviously not all of us had played together before or even met with some of us. And so Andrew sort of took on that role of being the glue and the magnet to bring everyone together as a group with the different play styles of the people that he knew. And I think that's worked really well. So.
Yeah, absolutely. See, here's my disconnect with what you just said, Luke. Andy as a person, glue. Lilith, I'm just sitting here going, what is Luke talking about? This ain't glue. This is like, if you want to, I mean, don't get me wrong, like, if you want to move things, she's a mover. There is no doubt. I have I'm going to call this a Lefenway double shot. So this is coming from the desk of Lolliput. And the first question is for you, Luke. In your, and these are his words, not mine, although I do agree with them. In your esteemed opinion, Dungeon Master, as Lord Grand Overseer of this world, which character from the main campaign is going to die first?
Look, I think that if we have people who continually annoy Imperials, it is likely to be them, and that's a fairly short list at this point, being largely Lilith and Eleni. So if they keep up to their shenanigans around Templars and things, that is likely to be the case, yes.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. I mean, but my takeaway, so the TLDR of that, Luke, was if they don't listen to Faustus, whoever doesn't listen, they're going to die. You know,
pretty much,
like these...
Yeah. He appears to know what he's talking about.
He's well in the ways of the Imperium, I think.
I think he just doesn't want to die.
That works too.
He's had a long life thus far, and it's since he's met this very profitable group of caravan guards, essentially. Not only has he made more money than he's seen in a long time, but he's feels like his life is getting shorter. That is for sure. The second question in this Lethenway double shot, Andrew, if Lilith was given a free cast of the wish spell right now, what would be the result?
Right now. So this is where I always talk about player expectation versus character expectation. And if you look at it just from a character perspective in her life, what would happen right now? She'd do the Jafar, unlimited cosmic power for sure. She just want to be strong, just an unparalleled being of ability and strength for reasons.
Very good. Very good. So, I'm going to linger back on the Dungeon Master link with both of you fine gentlemen. One of the things that we're not short of in this day and age is great Dungeons and Dragons and tabletop content, and so many great game masters and dungeon masters. Of all of those, in your opinion, who is your favorite dungeon master and why? This is from the desk of Metal Mum. Shout out, Metal Mum. G'day, Dean, Scarlett. How you guys doing? Hope you're having fun tonight.
It's a good question. Luke, you go first.
Oh, look, my answer's going to be pretty short. I don't watch a lot of streams or listen to a great deal of different podcasts. So I would say that, in all honesty, anyone who gives it a go, because without our great dungeon masters, we don't actually have a community to play the game with. And I do groups in school, and I know Mitchell runs some groups for his school as well. And they're my favorite people. Those people are out there exposing this wonderful hobby of ours and passion to other people. So,
yeah, great answer. Great answer. Yeah, it's the dungeon master who steps up and runs the game. All those people.
Yep.
Love that.
I second that. All DMs are created equal. For sure. 100%.
Once again, I'm gonna ask the tough questions. Luke, by virtue of the fact that you are not a consumer of the content, Andrew Garrard, I know you are a consumer of the content. Of the popular Dungeon Masters who stream and broadcast, who is your favorite?
Yeah, like talking with Luke's answer, yeah, all DMs are created equal, but my personal choice of a DM that I like to watch, and before anybody goes, oh, he's going to say Matt Mercer. No, I won't. It's actually the other guy. Brendan Lee Mulligan is an incredible DM. He has just...
Correct answer.
A real good... While Matt's very much the describer, Brendan Lee Mulligan invokes emotion with the way that he explains things. And for some reason, I really enjoyed that. That's just a personal preference.
Yeah. Absolutely, and that's why that was going to be my answer. This is not about me though. This is about you two. But once again, I'm just going to give you inspiration, Andy, for having the correct answer. I love this question. This comes from Ares the Colossal Titan. Lilith gives off Joker Harley Quinn vibes. I agree. Which Joker of all of the Jokers is she most... the question kind of cuts off most likely
to be.
Like, I don't know. Most likely. I mean, this is obviously Jared Leto, Heath Ledger, Jack Nicholson. But yeah, the question ends with which Joker is she most likely?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to call that's the question. So over to you.
So most likely to sleep with. I'm just kidding. So the long and the short of it is, and this might, I'm not going to spoil too much, but it might give hints. If you take her at face value, she's probably closer to the Jack Nicholson, more fun, a little bit comedic, not as serious as, like you say, your Heath Ledger's, not as like just crazy like the Jared Leto one, but still a little unhinged. I definitely see her smashing a mirror after, and laughing maniacally for no reason. However, at the core of the character, she's a Joaquin Phoenix Joker.
Joaquin Phoenix. Okay. Look, Ares the Colossal Titan is making the case that she's more of a Leto girl. But, I mean, you're not the player, Ares. That's the player right there. Okay. So I'm going to move on to different style of question. I think that this was a question that came from Faustus's desk and has found its way into the general thread of questions. But if you could be a creature of chaos or evil in the world, and maybe even think about it from a dungeon master perspective, like what is your, what monster, demon, or devil in D&D would you be, and why? It's got to be Zombie Beholder. They're great at parties.
Look, I'm a great fan of undead and zombies, so probably some form of lich with some necromancy involved, and just reaping chaos with my army of minions, I'd say.
And so I know you're a fan, but why? Why are you a fan of it?
Of the undead, or of that idea? I don't know. That's a great question. I think I don't actually have an answer. I've always enjoyed zombie films. Actually, I rescind my answer a little bit in that probably the greatest sort of fantasy villain that I've come across is from Terry Brooks' The Elfstones of Shannara. And I read it as a young teenager, and the Reaper in that absolutely terrifies me. So probably some form of the Grim Reaper in Terry Brooks' world.
Awesome.
I think undead. I went for the Wrath of the Lich King style of storyline or Frozen Throne from Warcraft. So yeah.
What a great character and great arc too. I think that was one of the struggles that the game and that story had, was that how do you get, where do you go?
Yeah, where did you go from there? Exactly. Yeah.
It's a massive peak. Andrew, your choice and why for devil, demon, creature of chaos and evil. We'll keep it to, open up to any game system that you like, but obviously there's Forgotten Realms and what we're doing over here.
I'm just looking at my minis and going, which one? Funnily enough, I really like, from just an interesting lore perspective and also from a game perspective, the Maroots. The Sentinels. The Sentinels of law and order across the universe. Just the fact that they come in and just grab people and take them back for trial for whatever crime they've committed against law and order and stuff. And just from a mechanical perspective, in the game, they are indescribably brutally powerful. They definitely punch well above their CR rating. Other than that, I like all the dragons. Because from a story perspective, dragons are cool. Especially ancient ones who are just like these endless beings who've lived for so long and either give a shit about doing things or have long-winded machinations that last millions of years, or whatever it is, thousands of years, I think it is. So
a long time.
Yeah. Anything that has Master Manipulator written all over it is me.
Master Manipulator. So I'm going to do all our viewers a favor. It's not because I don't know, but can you tell the audience, not me, because of course I know what a Marut is and describe it.
It's
I have literally no idea what a Marut is.
it's a giant construct that comes from the Mordron city, and across the plains, and it's just. I think you might have seen it. I think there was a creature in the last Ant-Man film that was similar to it. It has like a giant eyeball that's sort of suspended over the rest of the body, and that's pretty much it. It's what it looks like. But they're sentinels. Sentinels, they can. Yeah.
I've got it now. I've got it. Yeah, it's funny. It's in the north near the Lich King's citadel, Ice Crown. There's a race that's very like that, and that's where my head's going to with them. But yeah, I can't say I've ever played against them or seen them. One of the things that I know is that you have an incredible collection of minis with your 3D printing and your painting stuff right behind you, just there. Of your collection of wonderful things that you have, Andrew, what is your favorite piece in your collection?
That is impossible. Because there's just so many ones that I just absolutely love. The Archsphinx is probably very well up there. Which, if you give me 2 seconds, I can bring it down.
I think we'd like to see that. Shall we give the people cake? The chat's going, yeah, 100%. And yeah, I see you down there, Clockwork Werewolf. He can't answer Lilith. That is correct. So he had to pick something else. In this case, he went Marut, not Lilith. He was thinking it, though.
So this guy was 3D printed by me.
Oof. Look at that.
It's one of my best centerpiece models.
I just got this one down.
Yeah, nice. Oh, Rancor.
Yes.
Nice.
Yeah. Fantastic.
They may or may not live on somewhere on a Mars.
Put you over there.
I want to turn to your past and tabletops with Star Wars. I'm because I was a huge fan of the extended universe books before Disney basically kind of got rid of them. So there was Dathomir and the Rancors and the Witches and stuff, so many great storylines, in that continuity. With your games that you set in the universe, was there anything that you did in particular that was sort of home brewed, whether it be, like a character, it could have been a campaign or a particular quest or something, anything that from your Star Wars tabletop time that was really memorable for you? Because it's such a great setting. I mean, Star Wars is incredible.
Yeah, look, I typically like to run in the Galactic Civil War, so your original trilogy setting. I have run games in sequel and Old Republic as well, but I like the idea in the original trilogy that the Jedi are very heavily hunted, and traditionally, Jedi and Star Wars go hand in hand. So most people want to play a Jedi, and so in that sort of setting, it's a very difficult thing to pull off. And probably one of the most memorable moments was my wife was playing basically an Ahsoka clone, and they were on Corellia, which, for those who know Star Wars, is a very large and populated planet, and put out her lightsabers in the middle of a cantina. And so later in that session, they came up against Boba Fett, who was on their tail immediately. So that was a lot of fun. So there's a lot of different storylines. There's one I like to play at the moment as sort of a semi-one-shot, or usually takes a couple of goes, as we know, because one-shots never stick to a time frame. But it is in that it sort of combines a lot of that older expanded universe lore with Luke Skywalker re-establishing the Jedi Order. So, they go on a mission for Luke Skywalker to uncover an artifact because a treasure hunter has sort of become corrupted by a Sith holocron, and they basically track that back, and I won't go into too much detail, but to Korriban, which, if you're familiar with Star Wars, is a very heavily Sith influenced planet, and then there's all sorts of shenanigans that happen there, and depending on what era, if you set it in that era, you can tie it into the Rise of the First Order and things like that. So
Look, I'm running this show tonight, so like I'm very happy to go in this path. I'm a huge fan of the X-wing series and Corran Horn.
Yes.
There
Yep.
was something
Yep.
about from the Rogue Squadron from that first book, and sort of the set of what do you call it, like secrets and mysteries and stuff that set off all within that setting,
Yep.
Was absolutely incredible. And he became one of my favorite characters. And I love everything about that. So, if you just want to, I mean, I'm not saying that, Chronicles, like once we do Chronicles of Mara, let's do, you know, Chronicles of
Absolutely.
Corran Horn,
Yeah.
and like it's
Oh,
the
look,
acolytes of
it's
him.
definitely on the cards as one shots and things for Star Wars Day and moving forward. So yeah, absolutely.
Did you say that your partner plays tabletop as well?
Yes.
That's
She
awesome.
does it more for the social side of things than
Yeah.
actually loving tabletop. But yeah, I think she prefers the Star Wars system because she knows the lore a
Yeah.
lot better. But yeah.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Well, I think what I'm going to do now, everyone, is chat, and our wonderful viewers out there, if you have any questions at all for this once in a lifetime, I swear to God, this is never going to happen. This is a once in a lifetime opportunity to have both of these guys in the same room at the same time. That never happens. This is your opportunity to get your hot takes and hot questions in. They could be comments, they could be questions. I have one more question before we take a quick break, and we'll come back with some more questions. So this question is for both of you, and riffing off what you were talking about there, Luke, around memorable moments. Yeah, there are so many of them, and I think you guys have already shared some of them. But for each of you, what is the most memorable moment that you've personally had so far, and that you've experienced while playing Dungeons and Dragons?
Go, Luke.
Look, there's not really one that sort of stands above the rest. I guess probably one of the more notorious moments I had was playing in that Horde of the Dragon Queen, and the DM knew that I was very heavily into dwarf lore, and basically had some items within the junk heap in one of the caves early in the campaign that he knew that I, as a dwarf, would be very infuriated by, which involved me jumping down to go and to get those things and basically wiping the entire party except myself, who ran away. And in that same campaign, a friend, rather than fighting the little drakes, we befriended them and we started a drake breeding business. So that was a lot of fun as well. So just things like that.
I think that's one of the things that attracts us to the hobby so much, isn't it? There's the limitless possibilities. Like I just one of those things. I remember when originally playing, the very first time. I think you guys would have heard it out there. And actually, you can see it on YouTube. So my Secret to the Conclave, where Andrew was interviewing myself, and who else was in that one? Was that
Jesse.
That was myself and Aries, Aries himself. I've completely lost my train of thought. So I'm just going to go throw to you, Andrew. And you can answer the exact question, which was your memorable moment, your most memorable.
Yeah, I'm with Luke. I've had so many different ones. I've had a good few as players too. In recent years, I've managed to break the trend and stop being the forever DM. I've literally. There was the time in the Pirates campaign where we put a bunch of explosives on the ship and sailed it out to the enemy armada and blew it up and took out most of the opponents. So that was a good time. There was... Funnily enough, I did that again with another character, except it was a battlesmith that the artificer gets, the little robot companion. Put a bunch of... basically... made it a suicide bomber, ran it into the boss room and blew it up before the fight began. As a DM, I mean, I was talking to you about it before. It's probably the second to last fight of my massive campaign, the Artoria fight. Is probably my memorable moments. It was 6 hours, massive, mechanically heavy, massive fight. They had like 16 characters against her.
So for the benefit of everyone at home who wasn't, because we actually were having this conversation before the stream, set the scene, so 6 hours of what, Andy?
6 hours of them trying to essentially what they needed to do was take the bloody crown of madness, like the actual artifact that the spell's named from, which has her mind controlled and mad, off her before she murdered them. And she was a god killer, so she was essentially this demigod super being, which 16 level 18 characters or level 16 characters or something like that couldn't even scratch. So, but the idea was to play the scenario, but the design of it was she was just so fast and so strong that they just couldn't pin her down. And then eventually somebody cracked on that they needed to layer all their reactions and hold all their turns, all their actions, to link up together to get basically dogpile her in one moment just to breach her defenses. And they did. 6 hours later. Well, the longest fight I've ever had as a player, as a dungeon master in my entire career. Longest fight by far. It was just stupid. But it was so much fun.
So we've got a new milestone to hit now on the Chronicles of Amar, which is to beat that 6 hour saga there somehow with what level 4 characters so far. So it may not happen for a little while there. So fearless adventurers and viewers, we are going to take a quick break. While we are taking that break, please throw your questions. Like I said, once in a lifetime opportunity here. If you are watching and you haven't followed us on all of the socials, we are the Coastal Conclave. So make sure you search us and you follow all the stuff on all of the platforms. But we'll be back in 5 minutes to continue interviewing Andrew Garrard playing Lilith and our fearless dungeon master Luke. See you soon. Welcome back, everybody. We are here with Andrew Garrard and Luke, our fearless dungeon master, and this is Secrets of the Conclave, our monthly interview show. We've had some great questions, so never fear. If you have not watched the first part of our stream, you can watch it on demand for a week, and then we will have this uploaded on our YouTube channel later for. Oh, actually, hold on, secrets. This may end up being only limited access, perhaps. Limited access. So stay tuned there. But for now, my promise to you is that you should be able to still get this one. But yes, more coming in that space. Oh, don't sack me from the game, Luke. Don't sack me from the game. All right, so we're going to get back in it.
Giving away all the secrets.
So in terms of wanting to give the people cake, let's talk food. I have a question here in chat. If you were to pick a snack, what snack would Lilith have? And for you, Luke, you can choose either Aridin or Wellis. Or we'll start with you, Andy. What's
yeah?
You probably find that she's not really acclimatized to a lot of the stuff that she's been eating. Rations, the beers, she kind of just doesn't like it. I don't know why, but she's look, the short answer is blood of her enemies. But it would be something simple like snacking on some sort of creature. She's very carnivorous in that way. It's any small thing that she's managed to catch. She just kind of like chop it up, put it in a bag. The blood would soak into the bag, and then she'd just be picking it out, eating chunks of it at a time, bones and everything.
I was just imagining Lilith strolling around with a goon bag full of blood. So I feel like that's very much the impression that I'm getting of the character, that carnivorous sort of vibe. And we're going to return to Lilith in a moment, but I'm curious to find out a little bit more about Faustus's main squeeze, Wella.
What would her Andrew already kind of went there, but she'd take a drop of blood. Look, I can't say too much about Wella. There's
oh, come on, why not?
There's a little bit going on there that you might have to discover in other ways. But
come on, chat.
What would she eat? What would she eat? Probably a little bit of mystery meat baked into a pie, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Mystery meat baked into a pie.
Yeah.
I felt like there was a reference there that I'm missing.
Yes.
I think Andrew might have gotten that reference. So.
All right, we'll just leave that. If anyone in chat knows what the heck these guys are talking about, educate me. Okay, so I'm going to move on to some, we'll call it some, not quite 5e technical questions, but, it's, in that space. So thinking about maybe as players more than DMs, although that does give me an idea for an interesting question, which I'll come back to. What is your favorite class and race combo in 5th edition? And I think Andrew can guess what my question is going to be when I ask you guys as Dungeon Masters. Another question, but for you guys, when you think about all of the classes that we have available to us now, so many different races and ideas, and on top of that, the imagination that conjures, so don't necessarily limit it to the 5th edition rules, if you had a concept or something. But what is your favorite combo?
By the way, Richard got the answer correct in chat. I think now he gets it. Now he gets it.
I literally ate the pie.
You did.
So
you did literally eat one of those pies. So that's why I was just like laughing, because I was like, Mike.
I played a drow in Stroud as well, and I ate many of the pies.
Mm-hmm.
And even after I knew what they were, I still ate the pies.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And
So
we're not going to spoil anything on this channel. This is secrets. So for anybody who knows, you know. Anybody who doesn't know, don't ask. You shouldn't have told me, but I'm telling you, don't ask. So race and class combo, right? Sorry, that's where we were.
Yes.
I'll be completely honest. The very first character I got to play in a proper campaign that it's actually two, and they're tied. I both love Drow Hexblade Warlock and Tiefling Eloquence Bard. Are kind of my first two player characters since forever, and they are just the Drow Hexblade was just a ton of fun. It's such a fun class to play mechanically. It's versatile, has a tool for almost every sort of thing. And then the Eloquence Bard is essentially the D&D epitome, or no longer metaphor, for storytelling capabilities. It's literally a character that specializes in that capability, which is oratory sort of things, persuasion checks, got you covered, deception checks, you can lie your way through anything. And everything that class does is very much bardy, so it makes the best parts of the bard even more bardy.
Fantastic. And Luke, your favorite class and race combo?
Look, mine's pretty boring. It's a dwarf paladin.
I thought you were going to say human fighter.
So I am a big fan of dwarves, and paladins in general. More so the holy warrior with a, I guess, more along the gaming style of video gaming style of paladin that has a stronger healing base as well. So more of the holy style of paladin from Warcraft. But certainly dwarf paladins are my favorite. Followed fairly closely by rogues of sort of any description. So.
Rogues of any description. What is it about the dwarf? And is there like a... So for me, the first, or technically the second Forgotten Realms novel that I read was the first book in the... I don't know the different names, but there was the Mithril Hall trilogy or the Companions of the Hall. Was it Streams of Silver was the first book?
Yep.
Of the run by Salvatore, and I loved Bruno. At the core of every dwarf character I've ever made, there's some he's in the DNA of that character. But why dwarves for you? Why you mentioned before being so into the lore around them, and I know they've been in many games and many settings and stuff. But so what is it about dwarves for you, and where does that come from?
It's a great question, and I think a lot of it is to do with the idea that dwarves, as aggressive and militant as they can be, and as passionate fighters as they can be, they always have, in most fantasy settings, that deep connection with the land or the earth, and the mining and the delicacy to be able to craft these beautiful things. Whether it be weapons and armor or gems and things like that, they have those two sides to them. So they have the real, the aggression. You can play that style, or you can also have that deeper passion and love for beautiful things as well. So.
Yeah, I think there's something, particularly the more I guess I think of this the goodly of the dwarves versus maybe the Dugar and stuff. But I love how you describe that, because there is that fierce passion about them, but they're also like incredibly productive and make beautiful things that enrich, sort of the whole setting. When Bruno's crafting Agisfang in, that first book, you just like, oh my God, like so awesome, and they are somewhat, I think part of the reason why people love the Drow so much as well is the first time, you go to Menza Baranzan, that's how I say it, chat and me if you need to, but you go there and you're following the story of Drizzt, like the setting and it's so kind of alien and beautiful but evil at the same time in a way that's not there. Like there's something about those particular types of races. And Andy, you mentioned Drow being one of the races that you liked in your combo as well, where there's really that they're races that really bring a lot of depth and so many storytelling possibilities come with them. Um, I have to circle back as DMs. When players come up and they've got a particular class and race combo, what is your most hated? You're just like, oh, what the shit? Why did they pick that? This is going to be an absolute pain in the butt. Everything I have planned is now ruined because insert class, whatever. Maybe it's maybe there isn't one. For example, maybe you're just like, I'm just seeing Andy just flex. No, challenge accepted. But yeah, is there like a character brings a particular class and race combo to the table, and you're like, ugh.
Ultimately, for me, it's I don't have an issue with any of them really deep seatedly. There are definitely the power game, meta game sort of combos that if somebody brings that to the table, the only thing that goes through my mind is I have to adjust for this. Which I can quite comfortably. It's just, it then means that I have to be real careful with the way that I balance certain encounters and things like that, because you want to adjust for the strength of that, but you don't want to push everybody out. So it's about finding that balance, and that's if that's brought to my table, then that's the only thing I worry about, is trying to make sure that it balances out and everybody else feels like their character's also worth their grain of salt. But ultimately, those characters tend to only do one or two things really well, and you can always just, I don't know, nullify that ability. It's like,
phenomenal cosmic power.
Well, I mean, if you can, let's take an example. You're all combat. You can do 20,000 attacks, but the enemy's flying for all the fight. Makes it real difficult to really do anything, doesn't it? Isn't that right, Mike?
It does. Yeah. Try playing a centaur fighter against Vector when he's flying around, and see how you go, team. Particularly when no one thinks to dispel the flight.
No. And it's literally
amazing.
Literally the first thing he cast.
It's not even my job. Rob, it was your job, mate. It was your job. Okay? You could have made that happen, and you didn't. People died.
It's true.
Okay, sorry. I just
yep.
Had there's a little bit of moment.
Sorry, I triggered him. That's my bad, guys.
I crafted an amazing character. It was basically it became anyway. Luke, I'm going to put that aside.
It's basically exactly what Andrew said. People can play whatever they want, but when you come up with those sort of power gaming combinations, it really does impact other players. And as a DM, it can be very hard to balance that, to make it a challenge with that character in the party that isn't too much for those people who are just playing for fun. One other thing I dislike, and if you're out there, Jesse, I'm sure you can pick up my frustrations on this one. When you have a setting around, similar to Omar, where you have the Empire, and you explicitly say it's very human-centric. Monstrous races will have issues in this society, and then you turn up and you have a Minotaur, you have a Shifter, and you have a Goblin, and you have all these other things. And you've explicitly said, so basically, you've had the warning, we've been through what it's going to be, and now every time you walk into a town, you're basically going to be arrested.
Yeah, I was going to say, very first session, very first thing that happens, you walk into town, you're arrested.
Yeah, so... Jesse found a nice creative way around being a human in that setting, but other members of that particular campaign have not. So
it's very.
So I mean, you could just think about.
Oh, sorry.
You go, Andy.
Oh, I was just saying that question is, funnily enough, a very divisive topic, because I know a lot of pro players, people who are pro wannabe player, don't really care about DMs, don't really foresee that as a problem. They say, if you need, as a DM, that you need to get good. and then but then vice versa. So it's always, that one's always an interesting one. But I always, as Luke said, bring whatever you want. If I'll adjust. But yeah, sometimes it can have negative impacts, and you just, as a player, you should always be mindful of that. It is a group storytelling mechanic.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that such a good point. There, Luke. And Andy, yeah, absolutely. Shared storytelling. And it's one of the things that I remember, when you first start being a player, you kind of like come in with like a video game kind of mindset where you're kind of like trying to max your stats and stuff. And over time it kind of shifts. So, I don't see myself as not there's anything necessarily wrong with it, but like, a power sort of player / theory crafter where I'm trying to maximize absolutely everything, all of the time. And I think that's one of the great things about, for example, the choice to roll for stats, include the randomness. But, at the end of the day, like, it's a hobby, we all get together to have fun. So, horses for courses, Aries, that's for you. And at the end of the day, it's like, well, the approach that I think about now is, well, is what sort of story do I want to tell with the character? I start with the concept, and then and then sometimes you've got to try to shoehorn the character into 5e and try to work it in there, and then after that, once you get into the stats and stuff, like having those weaknesses and like initially when you first start playing the game, it's almost like you don't want to have any weaknesses. You're trying to cover up everything, but then those weaknesses end up being what make the characters like incredibly interesting. Not just to you but to the other players. It's the flaws that make them. And if all you care about is basically dominating everything, which is fine, as well. Yeah, I can 100% see what you mean, Luke, where if you lose sight of that and you're not playing for the group, then that's probably a hard table to be at.
It's the difference between I guess breaking the game and just making something that's good at what they do. And I'm all for, Lilith is an example. She's just good at what she does. She doesn't break the game, but she's good at fighting, and that's her thing.
She hits owlbears pretty hard.
Yeah. It does help if I roll a natural 20 when I'm using a very strong spell, but that is also a good point.
So I've got to go back through here. I guess here. Please read my very important kiss, marry, avoid question. Okay, so I'm trying to find the question.
It's just kiss, marry, avoid of all the current NPCs and player characters.
Right. So kiss, marry, okay. All right. Okay. I think I got you here. I got you. This is from Lathanway. I'm sure of it. So rapid fire. Okay, guys. Rapid fire. I don't want you guys to think too much about it. I'm going to rattle off the names of the adventurers in the campaign. You must tell me immediately, and our wonderful viewers out there, if you would kiss, marry, or avoid said character. Oh, I need to be ready for this. See you, mate. Just going to get my notes for the campaign. Make sure I don't...
Who are they?
Are you ready?
Go for it.
Kiss, marry, avoid. Faustus.
Kiss.
Avoid.
Motherfucker. Vadiri.
Kiss.
Come on.
Hair's on fire. Avoid. She's on fire.
By the way, I'm doing this as Lilith. Sorry, let me.
Yes, get into character.
I don't have a character to go off.
All right. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, and I guess you're in a rock and a hard place here, Dungeon Master, because you don't really want to like show any like favoritism. Perhaps.
I was going to avoid everyone.
But
yeah.
We're going to put this aside because the people need to know. The people need to know. All right. Kiss, marry, avoid. Ares, the colossal titan.
Oh, marry.
Definitely kill.
Kiss, marry, avoid. Lilith.
Oh, kiss.
Kiss.
Avoid the shit out of that. Jesus, come on, wrong answer. Kiss, marry, avoid. Roy put Lathanway.
Kiss.
Avoid.
I'd marry the heck out of him. Very interesting. All right.
You don't know who you marry,
Kiss.
though.
It keeps things interesting. Keeps things interesting. No 2 days would be this. Probably every 5 minutes, not the same. All right. Kiss, marry, avoid. Oleni.
Kiss.
Kiss.
Even with tusk daggers.
Yep.
How are you going to get around that? Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes.
Last but not least. It's just yes is the answer.
Just yes.
Kiss, marry, avoid. Ishmael.
Kiss.
Do I get to use my insider information on this one?
Dungeon
Marry.
Master, you can
Marry.
do whatever. Marry. Ooh, interesting. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Let me just double check. Have I sated the chat? Okay.
No,
Yeah.
he's very upset. I
Dax,
think we're
sticking,
supposed to pick one for each one.
sticking players in jail is a great way to start a campaign. Yep. 100%. Yep. So I was kind of thinking the same thing as well when it came to, having everyone basically rock up to towns and get in jail. Don't change areas. Yep. Great. He's a gem. Okay. I'm just trying to say marry for sure. Marry for sure. Ugh. Yep. They're loving, never satisfied. 100%. That was a great one. Thank you, Master Lathenway. All right, so back to the regularly scheduled questions here. Gentlemen, if someone was making a Dungeons and Dragons character based on you, the real person, what class, race, etc. would they make it, and why? Luke, I want to start with you. And that was me clearing my throat, not laughing at you.
Look, this is a tough one. I've never really thought about it, but I am going to say a cleric. I do not have an answer in regards to race, though. Probably, let's go with dwarf.
I was going to
Very
say, I
much
can
after
answer
my
this for
own
you.
passions. Like to drink, they like to fight, and like to create. So,
Great answer. Mr. Garrard. Someone's making a D&D character based on you, the real Andy G. What class, race would they make it? And why?
It's funnily enough got to be bard, but specifically the orator bard, not the. I'm not musical in any way, but I can spin a story really well, and I am a good sort of diplomat kind of thing going on. I should have been a politician in another life. As far as race is concerned, I'm very average, so human.
yeah, getting more specific, I'd say knowledge cleric for myself. So,
yeah.
Knowledge cleric. I like it. It's a great question. Here's another great question. There's so many things you could do in Dungeons and Dragons, but have you applied any Dungeons and Dragons tactics in real life? I'm going to throw it open a little bit and say mechanics as well.
Look, I'm a teacher. I use these strategies all day, every day. It's very much the same skill set.
It's like herding cats,
herding monsters.
giving them several good options to pick from, so they don't pick the let's go to Mount Doom right now kind of option.
Pick Mount Doom anyway. Yes.
I love that.
Oh, I mean, there's always that meme of how to put Dungeons and Dragons on your resume, and in terms of applying that stuff in my day-to-day job, It's kind of similar, but obviously I don't have 30 screaming sort of children, to manage. I have, 6 to 10 screaming adults. Yeah. That essentially they do the same thing. Those DMing skills of describing things and weaving stories about what we're doing. The business strategy. Make a story. What does the customer experience? The customer is the player of the D&D group. So I do translate a lot of those raw skills from a mechanical perspective across. As far as like fantasy tropes are concerned, like taking the One Ring to Mordor was the thing that. No, I'm just kidding.
Very good. Very good. I thought we were going to get some meat and potato, like some real dirt here. So one of you were going to reveal that you had secretly broken into a house once, perhaps to escape a gate that had been closed because your keys had been lost.
I struggle with
your neighbor
doors.
came out.
Just opening them in general, and that's a D&D thing.
Fantastic. Okay, Eldritch Blast. They almost ended up in jail. Perfect. That's you going back there, Luke. All right, guys. So once again, once in a lifetime opportunity. This is your opportunity. Nothing is off the table. Players of the Conclave, get the goss from the DM now. Get it canon. Get it on stream. Okay, this is your chance. Okay.
I'm going to address the door situation actually there, Jesse, because actually today my key is currently not working very well. Because we have these weird digital key things. And I couldn't open my classroom door, and I was there for about 5 minutes. Probably 10, more like 10, absolutely. And as it turns out, the classroom next door that we share a divider with, the door was open. For that entire 10 minutes, I could have just walked next door inside that door and just pushed through to my room. But I stood there like a moron for 10 minutes with my key, just going, no, it won't open. And I'm pretty sure the guys in the IT room next door are having a good giggle at me. So it's classic D&D right there in my life. Just today.
That's great. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, cool. I think my UI is playing up at the moment. It's looking like I'm muted, and I'm not getting any of the green flashes, and I can't click the button. But if you guys can hear me, all good.
Yeah, we can hear.
Excellent. Now I have lost my place. I
think we just lost him.
Oh, I think that's his.
I think we did lose him.
That's his Discord finally dying.
Finally caught up.
Fine. Back to Andy emceeing as. Look, it's getting long in the tooth, guys. I appreciate everybody who's still with us. You get to see this fantastic visage of Mike. For those overseas going, man, these guys just, they're having internet problems every single time. And I'm just like, yes, we are. We live in Australia. Some of the worst internet in the entire world.
Where it's more efficient to connect to your phone than it is to your internet.
It's more efficient to just not go on the internet at all. So yeah, it's just us for a second. And Discord crashed. He'll be back in a second. Jesse's like, glad it wasn't just me with the bad internet. I actually think I
sat here.
Yeah.
And downloaded all 150 gig of Baldur's Gate on the weekend, and it took a long time.
You should have just come over to mine, man. Would have taken you 20 minutes.
Yeah, it was painful. But it's there now. Not gonna uninstall. I had to remove everything from my computer, my laptop to play it, but I'll never need anything else anyway.
10 out of 10 worth. So, Mike has rejoined.
There he is.
I am back. What goss did I miss? Tell me all the things that the party now knows that I don't know.
Nothing. Nothing. We didn't talk about. No, nothing. But viewers out there, keep that between us, okay?
We revealed the true meaning of the magical box that Lilith is carrying.
Where
I'll
the
have to
deep
re-
south she's from.
Yes, where in the deep south Liv comes from.
Well, it is funny that you should say that. What I was going to mention was my need to quickly replay the stream so I could find out how Lilith truly felt about Faustus, but I'll do that later. Instead, I'm going to go straight to another question, which was submitted before the stream, which was in regards to said Deep South. Lilith, what is your favorite thing to do in the quote unquote Deep South?
So, honestly, I can't actually talk about the deep south. The deep south, knife throwing. You may have noticed a couple times when she gets into a tavern, she takes up wherever they're playing darts. She's throwing knives at them. So she's keeping those skills nice and sharp. So she likes doing that because it keeps her limber. Keeps her able to sort of see the target. It keeps that sort of dexterous accuracy about her that she uses in her combat styles. But that's very much, pastime. Another thing that she actually thoroughly enjoys that she hasn't had an opportunity really to break out on the party is the Taroko card readings.
What? I mean, you missed your opportunity to pull them out one time or something?
Yeah, I know. Somebody was just like,
I think they've mentioned every session so far.
Yeah. So
that's why Lilith hates Faustus.
Yeah, totally. So that's I can talk about the deep south, but not the deep south. Which will just have to be revealed in good time.
Ooh, I like that. So, Luke, we're going to circle back to you. A slightly different take on the question. As Dungeon Master, as creator, as founder of the Conclave and creator of the Chronicles of Amar, and having, now you're playing with, at least a few players. It's certainly not this format. It's people that you've met for the first time. Myself, Richard, to name a couple. They've brought in these characters, really without, sort of just, sort of off the cuff. There was sort of, I think there was an early sense there wasn't enough magic perhaps in the group. But what do you think of the party that's come together to start this quest? What are your thoughts of the group and the dynamics? Anything you want to share or speak to there around the characters that we've brought together for this campaign?
Probably less about the characters and more about the people. I think you guys have gelled amazingly well for people who hadn't necessarily played together before. And I spoke a bit with Andrew about who could we get, and we sort of had some ideas about how it would gel. So we didn't just throw completely random people together. But I think we've done really well. And you're right. I did mention we might need a healer, and then it turns out. We have multiple clerics in the party, although I don't think any of them have any healing spells whatsoever.
I'm literally the only person who can heal, but for some reason everybody's clerics, and I'm not even a cleric.
So, and then I'm not sure. We weren't 100% sure whether Nina was joining up until probably the last minute, and then we had another cleric in the party, which was interesting. But luckily, we were using D&D Beyond for the character sheet, so we had an idea of what she was going to do. And I think the characters are coming together nicely. I think that at this point, Videri is probably sort of the odd one out in that she has a very pressing concern driving her, whereas the other characters are sort of just exploring, their backstories and their motivations. Whereas Videri has one straight up that is sort of on a bit of a urgent time frame, and so that's sort of driving her character forward a little bit.
Quite literally, like she literally walked off in the last
just
session.
Left, that's right. So,
just out of dodge.
So, and it was great. I had sort of assessed the characters and thought, how can I bait them into a fight with the Imperials? Well, it was pretty easy to do in the end. So just put them on the road next to you, and something will happen.
That was a great moment for anyone who hasn't watched the last episode. Faustus literally is like goes to the two people who he thinks are the biggest chaos monkeys, the most potential to do something wrong, and explains how dangerous this situation is. Then Eleni steps up and basically looks like if she could speak, like there are going to be problems, right? Here's this giant half orc, seriously thinking about trying to like sneakily cut the bindings of these prisoners. Anyway, doesn't the setting is we're going down a road, we're heading towards Ishvanor, and coming the other way, as our dungeon master described, it just happens to be, a convoy, a prison convoy of the Imperium with a couple of Templars and some magic users and things like that. And he's just like, let's see what happens here. And in that last play, Lolly put Lethenway. Now this is meta. Faustus don't know this. He's currently just, I think flat on his tummy. He's probably got some fire on him. He's smoking and smoldering, knocked away. But I mean, like, come on, man. But yes, well played, DM. Well played. Now we have time for one more question from chat before I ask the final question of this Secrets of the Conclave. And Ares himself, Jesse, it's a very important question to ask. Lilith, while in the Deep South, did you meet any short centaurs like Ares?
Not short. Which is kind of where that conversation was going. She lost interest after Eleni Vulcan neck pinched him. But you definitely get the sense that she knows what a centaur is, and that they're fey creatures, and that's all I'll say on that.
Fair.
And
I like it. All right.
I think just super quickly, one of the motifs that people might be picking up is that she has no idea what's going on in these Imperial lands, and gets confused or naive about certain things. And for her to be really poignant with exactly what it is and knowing exactly what they are about anything, it's interesting.
Awesome. So, the final question for tonight. Andrew, Luke, you both have a disguise kit full of prophetics. What do you see in the future for our adventurers and the Conclave?
Go, Luke.
I don't. I'm still contemplating. So if you've got anything, Andrew, go ahead.
Oh God, no. About the campaign, is this in reference to what I see happening?
Future for our adventurers and or the Conclave. So, I mean, in the scope of things, world famous, millions of dollars, audience of thousands.
Yep.
But the characters, so you've got your disguise kit full of prophetics. What do you prophesize in the future for our ragtag band of caravan guards heading north?
I'm just waiting for Luke to lean in and just go, remember Rocky 3? What's your prediction for the fight?
Dragons.
Pain.
There are. If you've got something, Andrew, you go.
No. No, you go.
It is hard to tell because there are a lot of things sort of bubbling away that could be pursued. Some of them are probably a little bit more deadly than others, a little bit more ominous. But from where we are currently, I think that.
I just see an owl flying over.
Yeah, there's some interesting evolutions in the owl sphere to be aware of. But I guess it depends. Once you guys get to Ishvanor, which particular path you follow, whether it's Vidiri's quest of Faustus or Lilith, any number of things could happen. and some of that has been set up in various one-shots that can be brought back around depending on which way you go. So if you think back to those, you might get a little bit of an idea of what might be coming. Although no one cast identify or anything on the one-shot items that you guys retrieved, so we'll have no idea what they are.
No idea.
It was surely details, Dungeon Master. We can, maybe we retcon some of that. I mean, I didn't say that out loud. Andrew, it's been a pleasure. Dungeon Master Luke, it has been a pleasure. Viewers, it has been a pleasure to have you here for tonight's broadcast of Secrets of the Conclave. Make sure you follow us on all of the things. If you aren't following us or subscribed here on Twitch, make sure that you do so. Have an absolutely wonderful evening. Thank you very much, and good night from us all.
I will probably also jump back on in a little while to play some Baldur's Gate if anyone's still around. So might do some streaming of that.
Oh, and speaking of streams, so yes, do stick around. Finally, right? But there's another broadcast happening potentially tomorrow. We're not sure yet. Tomorrow night's game is tentative at this stage. Is that right? Can neither confirm nor deny.
Well, look, we do have some issues, but we will work it out and we'll broadcast from somewhere. So,
yeah. Yeah.
So
it's gonna go ahead. We just don't know where from.
So we've got some work to do in the next 22 hours ish.
Yep.
So stay tuned for episode 7 of the Chronicles of Amar. We'll see you there.
Thanks
everyone.
guys. See ya.
Bye.